is my 300-gallon stock tub pond. It's currently in a greenhouse. It has been for the winter. It's heated with a couple of big Fluval aquarium heaters. And for the most part, those and keeping the water in the 70s has kept the greenhouse warm. We did have some unseasonably cold weather in Arkansas this winter, and so I got a little greenhouse heater and only ran it on the coldest of nights when it was down in the 20s and teens and even single digits. There were not any fish in it until the weather started warming, and then I did bring swordtails out from my biggest tank inside, which is a 20-gallon high. They were just, the adult swords had just gotten so big and really bullying everybody else in the tank. So they got their own pond, and so far so good. I have 5 adult swordtails in there that came from my fish room, and then I added let's see how many, I believe 8 altogether. 2 little batches of swordtails from my local fish store, which are the smaller fish you're seeing. If through the glare and the reflection you've been able to see some of the smaller swordtails. They're red or orangish red, and there's one right there, black speckled. Eventually I'm going to take the greenhouse down, and then I have to decide if I'm going to net or chicken wire this pond. Or if I'm just going to let it be open and natural and let the birds and the other wildlife in. So anyway, yeah, I went 2 different ways, very different ways with my tub ponds. And mainly the reason I did the heat and covered this one this past winter is because I didn't want to lose 50% of my marginals. I've got, quite a good little collection of marginal plants now. Let's see, a couple of different pots of cannas, different palms, and papyrus, looks like an elephant ear over there, but I think it's a kind of taro. Some Mexican petunias. Anyway, some horsetail reed. So I wanted this year to see if I could make it through with all my marginals, and I did. This method has worked. So, and then you can see it's a planted pond. There's there was natural layers of natural botanicals that had fallen into the tub when it was uncovered. There's an oak tree here. We are next to the house, so I do have power for this pond. Usually, and you can see there's a pump, a fountain that's not running. It's a filter box with a fountain head, and when I can unplug the heaters, I will plug back in my second fountain here. And yeah, but the plants overwintered, the aquatic plants. There's Bacopa, and I've got dwarf sedge, and I think some val over there. Water lilies, and I think that's it on the aquatic plants. But I did start feeding this pond since it stays warmer with the heaters. Once I put the fish in, I don't feed that often, but especially now that I put the babies in, I've been feeding. But there's lots of natural food here for the fish and whatever else is living in there, because when this thing is uncovered and open to the wildlife, the local wildlife, it'll have lots of frogs in it. The birds come and bathe. I have lost larger fish out of this in past summer due to wildlife like raccoon. If I don't leave this greenhouse up, I'll probably wind up putting at least chicken wire over it to keep the coons and other things out that actually come and take the fish. I think before I've tried koi in here, I've tried goldfish. Both have been taken by birds and coons or whatever else was helping themselves. So this time I'm thinking with the swords, I mean, they get pretty big. These adult swords are at least 4 inches long if you count the sword, but they're still small enough and fast enough that I think they could hide even if a predator did enter the pond. But I'm not sure. The frogs are pretty efficient hunters, and so I may try to keep the frogs out. Although I love the frogs. I love to hear them sing. The babies are fun. So I don't know. I'm just, I'm torn. And it also makes me want to get another tub pond and say, okay, that's going to be the wild one for the local wildlife. But we'll see. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this update on my 300-gallon stock tub pond. Again, I only keep it about half full typically, because I have the marginal plants hanging or sitting around the edge. Sometimes it goes a little, a couple inches higher. So it probably really only has about 150 or 175 gallons when I fill it up a little bit more. But I've had fun with it and had success, again, getting my marginals, 100% of them, through the winter, this winter, using this method. So I'm happy with it. So y'all, it's getting to be summertime. It's tubbing season. I hope you will take a chance and try a tub pond through spring and summer and fall of 2024. It can be a lot of fun. Here's a quick little update on the 100, or I think it's 110 gallon Rubbermaid stock tub pond. I keep it like half to 3/4 full usually, so it's never completely has that 100-gallon of liquid there. It's always partially full. I don't know if you can see there. There's my rice fish. There's 4. Started the winter with 6. Totally left them to overwinter with this pond like it usually does. Just open to the elements. It's completely natural. It freezes over. I have a little solar pump, so I get a little bit of water movement even in the winter. So it kind of keeps, typically there's at least some area of the water that's a little bit open to the air for gas exchange. But 4 of 6 these rice fish survived, and I'm happy with that ratio. I'll probably add a few more when I can find them. These blue Miyuki platinum rice fish, hard to find right now, but I'll find a few more and add to this. But yeah, pleased. You can see there's some algae in there, but the aquatic plants are growing well. I'll add my marginals back in here. I did decide to net this pond for this season to keep the dragonfly nymphs out and damselfly nymphs out, and probably the frogs, because I do want the rice fish to survive and multiply. Then there's a bit of a glare and a reflection, but I think you can see the rice fish, let's see here, pretty well today in the sun. They're lined up there sunning, staying warm. The water's still pretty cool because it's getting cool at night, but these kind of fish are used to that. They are naturally made. The fish that come from Japan, at least, go through a natural winter, and so here in central Arkansas we have kind of a similar winter, maybe a little bit colder this past year, but that was a surprise to us. Yeah, so that's, see this pond, I have some driftwood, I have that like a little fish cave with that pot over there. This is planted out with aquatic plants. There's dorsage, bacopa. Oh, there's hornwort. You see that red, rusty, brownish red you see there? That's hornwort. In my pond, where the hornwort gets a high sunlight, it turns this reddish brown color, and if I take it out and show it to you, those stems turn this light pink. Now if I take that inside, but within a couple of days it'll turn back green. But that's just hornwort, and in my conditions here in my ponds in the sun, it becomes red. I call it red. There's some algae. I still have to do some maintenance and clean out. But there's again, this is a open to the elements natural tub pond. I left it for a time period, and some natural botanicals and mulm collected, and then I topped that with, I used a mix of light colored aquarium sands that you buy wherever, and then also some play sand, and then some crushed coral and aragonite. So kind of a mixture. Ooh, there they go. Yeah, so you can see I do have some work to do, some algae removal, but that water is super clear. Let's see if I can get you to see. That water itself is super clear. Oh, there's the rice fish. See there, maybe you can see there's some pollen, and I've started feeding them now that it's getting warm enough. And they're really being a lot more active. There's a natural food web in here. There's plenty of things that they've been eating on that grow in the pond, but I have started supplementing and feeding on these warm, sunny days, I should say. See the little waterfall I have there. I have water movement. Again, it's a solar power, but it's enough. And again, you can see, I mean, that water is super clear. I think the net is messing with the focus. Most of the white substrate is now hidden by a new layer of mulm. But I just don't mess with this pond very much. Like I will use my hose and I will, like, by hand, run my hands along those plants and remove the majority of that algae. But I don't do, like, I'm not going to go down in there and disturb that substrate, that mulm layer, and I'm afraid that'll just upset the balance, the natural balance of this natural pond. And really the only intervention I'm taking now is netting it for the summer, just because I know that the damselfly and dragonfly larvae and other insects that hunt small fish will be, a risk to my rice fish that I don't want to take. I want more of them, not less. So, but other than netting, they're living in a natural ecosystem here. And you can see I've got a Zola, I've got frog bit as far as floating plants, some water lettuce. These actually, you know, everything froze that was in here last summer, and so these are these bits of floating plants are what I have brought out from my fish room to, you know, to really be a start for this season. Before I know it, that one frog bit, that one water lettuce, or two little water lettuce, and that little sprinkling of Azolla will cover this whole top of this pond, and then I'll have to start thinning it out. That's a clump of what do you call it, monkey grass. I am always surprised by what makes it through the winter here if you just leave it alone. Again, that's a update on this 100-gallon-ish tub pond. This one did not have any intervention over winter as far as heating, and I just recently netted it. I'm excited for summer tubbing season 2024, and I'll show you how this evolves and what happens. And I'll see you next time.